Welcome to the Order Aesthetics News Live. We are broadcasting direct from the Great Library in the ages of Palanthas, Alt Catacleus. It is Bakakul, Book Green the 19th. My name is Adam, and today I was sifting through the Icon of Chronos, and I came across this bit of news from a little over a week and a half, almost under 2 weeks. All right, we'll just put it there, under 2 weeks ago. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this channel, ring the bell, and if you can support the channel, you can do so by picking up some DragonLance gaming materials. What's better than that? Use my affiliate link in the description below. This came to me originally as an announcement on Screen Rant, and then as a follow-up to that announcement about a little bit of speculation. And so I want to take a step back, go to the original source, and then just talk about this. We've got a lot to go over. And to be quite honest, I got all night. So as long as you guys want to hang in there, I'm willing. Let's have some fun, shall we? All right. So my slideshow here is telling me that this is all starting from Hidden Path Entertainment, okay? So this is posted March 2nd, so it was a bit ago. It was not on my radar. I'm not on social media, so I don't see any Twitter posts or anything. So I kind of have to rely on other people and those other people's sharing these ideas for me to really pick up on it. And I'm glad that they did, because this is potentially really exciting. Okay, so Hidden Path Entertainment posts this. We're hiring. We're in development on a AAA third-person open-world fantasy role-playing game that will be taking place inside the Dungeons & Dragons franchise. And they need a number of different professionals to help them. Here's what's exciting about this. There we go. What's exciting about this is that open-world role-playing games, you know, we have a lot of different IPs that have explored that. I don't think anything is more well known than Elder Scrolls. They've been doing this for a very long time, very successfully too. But for a Dungeons and Dragons open world role-playing game, that's pretty untrod ground. And so the speculation comes, which open world IP is going to be used? Which campaign setting? And the truth is that most of the modern video games that have been and will be released seem to be in Forgotten Realms. And I know that that is right now, you know, Dungeons and Dragons' sort of favorite sandbox to play in. And there's nothing really wrong with Forgotten Realms. Let's be honest. It's a good game. And my my images are flying faster than my mouth can carry. It's pretty exciting to consider other campaign options. And because they haven't announced it, Hidden Path Entertainment, and we don't know what it is, but also because we just had the announcement about new Dragonlance novels being released this year, followed by new game materials if they're following through with their original contract with Margaret Weiss, LLC, and Tracy Hickman, then there is a possibility that it's a Dragonlance game. And if there's even the remotest possibility of an open world Dragonlance game, please give it to me. I want it now. I don't even really play video games anymore. Like I'll dabble from time to time if I got like a wild hair up my butt or something to just dive into something. But I can't just sit down and play hours and hours of games. But if it's a Dragonlance game, I might be able to find some time. I'll carve some time out just to see that happen, right? And I know I'm not the only one to be doing this. But before we dive into speculation about what type of a Dragonlance game it could be, we must acknowledge that this is all speculation. So let's speculate with fun in mind. So if it doesn't turn out to be a Dragonlance game, oh well, you know, who cares? There's always going to be a future possibility. If it doesn't end up being anything tangentially related to Dragonlance, okay, well, that's fine. Other gamers will pick it up and play with it. I want Dragonlance desperately bad, though. So that's why I wanted to throw this video out here and just sort of speculate and talk for fun about our favorite campaign world. Okay, so here it is. Dragonlance has actually had a pretty rich history in the very late 80s and the early 90s with video games. They were released on multiple platforms in the day. And so, you know, we're talking Commodore 64, IBM, Apple II, Nintendo. But this is kind of the scope of all of those games that we had. It was either during the War of the Lance with the trilogy of Heroes of the Lance, Dragons of Flame, and Shadow Sorcerer, or after the War of the Lance, even after the Legends era of the War of the Lance. And those were the Champions of Krynn, Death Knights of Krynn, and the Dark Queen of Krynn trilogy, also known as Gold Box set. But we also had 2 standalone games, all right? So those are 2 straight role-playing games, 2 trilogies of straight role-playing games. We had Dragon Strike, released in 1992, which was a sort of over-the-top, sort of top-down view, like a bird's-eye view of a dragon just shooting stuff, a vertical scroller shooter, which is not what people expected it to be, but that's what it ended up being when it was released. And people had fun for what it was. It's not a bad scrolling shooter game. And there's also War of the Lance, which is a strategy game where multiple people can play at the same time with this particular game that came out in '89. And so we've had top-down shooters, we've had strategy games, we've had 2 trilogies of role-playing games. But that was back in the 90s. The last one was released in 1992. And that, quite simply, is too far for us to continue enjoying with the modern influx of digital technology. I mean, you look at any of the consoles nowadays, and they look almost exactly like real life. They're just a few pixels shy of real life, right? In their presentation. And computer graphics are even better in some cases. And then we've got VR. I mean, there's just so many opportunities for a genuine immersive experience. Now, we're not going to go into VR or anything because they've already shut down. That Hidden Pass Entertainment said that it's not going to be a VR game. So it's just going to be a traditional computer or console-based open world game. And what I always think of is Red Dead Redemption and Red Dead Redemption 2. 2 fantastic open world games that are incredibly wonderful graphic-wise, but also engaging content-wise. I spent hours and hours and hours with Red Dead Redemption, and then when the zombie, add-on pack was released, I went crazy and made sure I got 100%. I picked up Red Dead Redemption 2. I just haven't really gotten around to it. But that's all well and good when you have a set time period that you're going to be playing in. But we don't know if it's Dragonlance and then what age of Dragonlance is it going to be set in. So let's speculate. Let's have some fun. What are our possibilities? Now, I think the most likely ages that it could possibly be set in would be the Age of Might, the Age of Despair, or the Age of Mortals. So let's go up to the Age of Might. I've got an image queued up here of the new version of the Legends cover from one of the books. And I just want to talk about what are the possibilities with Dragonlance open world gaming in the Age of Might. And let's just go over some things that are going on right now in this time of Krynn. You got the fall of Istar. You've got Istar and the Elven nations clashing over Istar's moral high ground and sort of setting of standards, not unlike modern politics, I think, in some cases, but I don't want to bring the real world into this too much. So they're fighting. You have the Ogre Wars, which is going on right now. You have the siege of Istar on the high towers of sorcery going on right now. So imagine a role-playing game, in the same way like a lot of MMORPGs, where they have expansions to move the timeline forward. What if this was the same way? It starts with the general conflict of Istar in its high prime with the king priest on top, and everyone is sort of, just traveling around the world with their trade wars and regular regional skirmishes between the different races and regions of Ansalon. But you could have expansions that start throwing in newer times, right? So you have, maybe the characters do a little alternate history and they are given the opportunity, like Lord Soth was, in order to prevent the fall of Istar. And so you have to play, maybe not just Lord Soth specifically, but maybe an agent of, or, alongside with, trying to redeem and fight against the king priest and his insanity of moral politicking around the world. I mean, it's one thing, you got the Knights of Solamnia going on right now, and you could be one of them, going against Istar, or you could be in a campaign against the Elven nations, or go on raids against the High Tower of sorcery, because 2 of them fell before there was any peace talks in the Age of Might. So that potential there has a really rich, and it hasn't been overdone. The era of the Age of Despair with the War of the Lance, it's been done to death. And I love the era. I love the age, but we all know it. We all know it intimately like the back of our hands. So if you want a fresh start, and there's no reason why we couldn't have future growth in the game that goes into the Age of Despair from the Age of Might, right? If the game is set at the end of the Age of Might, then we could experience the Cataclysm. How crazy would that be as a player? Imagine if you are on a ship sailing around the outer edge of Istar, and we can watch a mountain come hurling down, and we have to somehow game our way out of harm's way to survive the Cataclysm. That would be crazy. That would be so much fun. And then you move into the Age of Despair, and there's no reason why, different expansions on a game can't speed up time. You know what I mean? It's all made up anyway. It's all a game. So there's a lot of really great storytelling possibilities and gameplay opportunities in the Age of Might that make it a really exciting place to play a game. And it's not done to death, so that would be really great. Okay, so what's another age? What about the Age of Despair? The one we know and love. We know this like at the back of our hands. We got the War of the Lance. We got after the War of the Lance. We've got even after that, right before. So we've got the Dwarfgate Wars in the Age of Despair, which would be huge. You've got the War of the Lance. You got the Summer of Chaos. Could you imagine playing a role-playing game through the Summer of Chaos? So there's so much fertile ground in the most well-known, most well-read, most popular Age of Krynn. The Age of Despair. I'm not sure how much fun it would be to retread those old ground because, as I mentioned earlier, we've already had 2 trilogies of role-playing games in this age. So yes, they could actually update those and sort of bring new, single-player experiences to them. But I don't know. And here's the other thing I just thought of. DragonLance came out with Dungeons and Dragons, Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, first edition. It's meant to be a group play game. So if this is an open world role-playing game, is it a single character? Because it's a single player game. So is it single character, or is it one player with multiple characters? And what would you prefer? Like, my role-playing chops started with The Legend of Zelda and Dragon Warrior. And so I really appreciate the single character, Dragon Warrior 1, Dragon Quest really spun out into like 10 or 12 different versions. And after the first, they always added extra characters, very much like Final Fantasy. We had a party to play with. And I'm okay with that. But I really like sinking my teeth into one character and really developing them as much as possible. So maybe there's moments where you have non-playing characters come in. That would be okay. Or, maybe it's an option where you can let the computer control, like they did with the Gold Box games. The computer can control other characters in your party if you choose to, and then you could just focus on one at that time. I think I might be okay with that. But I really do just like developing one character and having a sense of ownership over that character, Either way, I could imagine playing a Sturm-esque type character, a Knight of Solamnia that's trying to live up to the oath and really show the current state of the world, which hates and blames the Cataclysm on the Knights of Solamnia. Thanks, Lord Soth. Thanks a lot, Lord Soth. On the Knights of Solamnia, try to change that by doing good deeds and trying to right wrongs and striking out against the bad guys, in Ansalon and stuff. That would be kind of cool. And I know I'm not bringing in the Dragon Isles. I'm not bringing in the Sea Elf Kingdom or Talados. I'm specifically talking about Ansalon because I think that's the most likely. If it's a Dragonlance game, that's a big if, I think that's probably where they're going to do it. Again, the most commonly understood continent. I don't know why they would go outside of that. Not to mention, who wouldn't want to design and then go run through in third-person mode the end of the last home in Solace? That would be dope. That'd be great. I'd have so much fun. And just so you guys know, if you're watching these or if you're tuning in after the fact, if you tune in live while I'm running these shows, you can actually talk with me. Like, you can put up your comments and thoughts in the chat, and I'll respond to them, and we can riff and have a good conversation, have a good time. This is meant to be in this format, and I enabled the chat feature so that we could have a conversation. So the option is there if you ever want to do it. But yeah, so, the Age of Despair has a lot to offer gameplay-wise, storyline-wise, and it's probably the most diverse because it's the most understood. But with the 5th Age, Dragonlance has moved into the Age of Mortals, and that is where the current world lies. At least that's where it lied in Dungeons & Dragons 3.5 edition with the last source books released by Sovereign Press, right? And then, of course, the last trilogy. The Dark Disciple trilogy. That was really exciting. It was such a good read, too. And kind of sexy and kind of cool and kind of horror and kind of scary. Such a great, great trilogy. But that's where Dragonlance has ended. But knowing that Margaret Weis and Tracy Hickman's new trilogy is going to be set back in the Age of Despair with the War of the Lance, telling new stories with new antagonists, and sort of presenting that era in a different way, maybe this game is going to fall in line with that. I mean, 2 years ago, or now it's almost 4 years ago, but like 3 years ago when the original deal went through with Weiss and Hickman and Wizards of the Coast to do this trilogy, they already had book 1 done. It was finished, and they had book 2 outlined and almost completely finished, if not finished. And so they just had book 3. So if you were going to be handing over development to a game company, you've already got 2/3 of the world to play with, not to mention all of the past information about the world of Krynn to draw on. So it's not unlikely that this, if it is a Dragonlance game, this would be the era, and it would follow the new story that's going to be, or at least inspired by the new story that's going to be released in this new trilogy this year, 2021. We got to talk about that when it releases too, because I want to sink my teeth into that conversation a bit. Okay, so the Age of Mortals, we got the Dragon Overlords. How terrifying would that be? Like, you have to, maybe you're surviving or experiencing Ansalon during the Dragon Purge, and then you have to build up your character as like a final fight to fight one of the Dragon Overlords, or get, help Mina get access to the Dragon Overlord. So maybe she kills Beryl at like the conclusion of the game and you're there helping her. That would be super badass. Things like that, I think, are ripe for an engaging, exciting new look at Krynn from a video game standpoint. And let's be honest, video games in our current time are becoming infinitely more immersive with their stories and with the gameplay experience. And whether you're talking about like Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is an amazing open world video game, Red Dead Redemption 2, which is just stunning, or some of the ones that I haven't played because I don't have a PlayStation, but everyone's talking about The Last of Us 2 and The Last of Us 1. I think those are ones. I hope those are the ones I'm thinking of. But super immersive storytelling. They could apply Dragonlance to that. And, when those of us who grew up in the 80s and 90s reflect on Dragonlance, we primarily reflect on the novels, and then the role-playing game, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons, and then the video games. Like, that's sort of the common order that we think of. We could be at a paradigm shift in our culture so that the new generation of Dragonlance fans this generation could think of it in terms of the video game, and then the novels, and then anything else. That would be incredible. And we have the technology. We have the capability to do truly amazing storytelling in a video game format. Let's apply that to Dragonlance. Oh, please, let's apply that to Dragonlance. That would be amazing. And that's really kind of all I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about where this hype came from, how I heard about it, and then what the possibilities are. What we've had in the past as far as video games, but what the possibility is. I guess the most important part is, what do you think? What excites you about this time? And that's going to do it for this Order of Aesthetics news episode. Do you want to see an open world Dragonlance video game? And what era would you like to see it take place in? Have you heard any news or rumors you would like me to discuss? Feel free to email me at info@dragonlance-saga.com or comment below. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video, and you can support this channel and pick up some Dragonlance gaming materials by using the affiliate link in the description below. This channel is all about celebrating the wonderful world of the Dragonlance Saga, and I hope you'll join me in the celebration. Thank you for watching. This has been Adam with DragonLance Saga, and until next time, Slán Javar.